Well, hello internets, here we are. Got ourselves a little bit of a topic video here. Well, I thought I would share with you guys some of my thoughts once again. A person's mind can, well, be a good thing, but it can also be a cause of some of their problems as well. Looking out your window, seeing a beautiful sunny day out, seeing people walking, seeing children playing, seeing vehicles driving by, you feel to yourself that you would like to be out there. However, you think to yourself that if you go out there today, then you won't be able to buy groceries tomorrow, or won't be able to go out to the Jayco, or won't be able to film videos today or tomorrow or even the next day, because you will have overdone it on your outing today. So then you don't go out, and then you feel bad because you've been inside already for 2-3 weeks straight without any or much interaction with the outside world at all. I myself deal with a lot of chronic pain, insomnia, fatigue, all that wonderful stuff that comes along with that. I have not yet found anything that alleviates the pain, fatigue, insomnia. Everything that I find is one extreme to another. You either sleep for days and don't wake up when you're supposed to, or you're like energized and wired and you don't want to sleep, you just want to go. Then comes the inevitable crash after that, where you're wrecked, you can't do much of anything. I've been trying to live my life the last couple of years, been trying to make the best of what I have been given. However, one of the biggest triggers or causes of everything that I'm finding is overthinking, overanalyzing, making things more complicated than they need to be. I like to do road trips, like to do camping, like to do projects, like to do things, like to plan out my painting projects. However, sitting there on the couch in my head and basically painting the painting in my head, and then trying to decide where to put the stripes or the tape or the lines or what colors to use, and then I am mentally fatigued when it comes time to paint. So then that's tomorrow's project, planning out my road trip, where the attractions are, where to sleep for the night, possible campsites, gas stations, way to drive, backup ways to drive, how to get back to where I need to be if roads A and B are blocked by spring runoff or whatever, which I ran into like that in the past. I've spent a lot of time, way too much time, overthinking, overanalyzing, and some of my best moments in life were completely spur of the moment, if you want to say. Throw fuel in the truck, back in the day, throw fuel in the rusty truck, grab my hockey bag that consisted of my tent and camping gear, which was very, very minimal then, grab my cat, grab some food, and then fuel up and hit the road. I really didn't have a plan on where I was going, where I was going to sleep. If I was at a place where I could set up the tent, I set up the tent. If I was not, then I slept in the truck, and it was a fun time. I've been considering buying a van, however, then you're back into payments, then you're back into all that maintenance and all that trouble. Because I could pull over virtually anywhere in a van to sleep on those weekend spur of the moment type of trips. And if you bought the right van, it would even have a towing capacity that could pull a small trailer. I'm not saying the Jayco, but a small trailer, maybe even a small single axle cargo trailer, if I were to go back that route and want to camp for more than a day or 3 in the van. I know with me, stress always had been a trigger, always had caused problems with me, even going way back. It got pretty bad there in 2009. I learned, I reached out for help, and I didn't find the help that I was looking for. All I found was prescription medications jammed down my throat, and unnecessary doctor's visits, and threats of being what do you want to call it, because I don't fit society's idea of what a person is. They didn't even try to dive into the situation, dive into why I was feeling this way. It was just instantly medication, you guy up, throw you in a straitjacket and dump you in a rubber room kind of thing, almost. And I learned to deal with it. I went off the meds, which, depends, could be a good or a bad thing, but I learned to deal with it. I learned to cope with things, learned how to deal with things. We'll just leave it at that. And things were pretty good for a few years. I was able to have fun, able to work, able to function in a relationship. Before I got hurt at work, I was having trouble with my relationship, and I severed ties there, kind of a thing. And then came the workplace, accident or injury, which just added more stress to the stress that was already going on with the lawyers and the money and not being able to work and stuff like that. And then getting messed around by the system, because apparently I was supposed to yell, kick, and scream and raise a big fuss when they asked me to lift a 7,500 pound crate with basically a broken hand. They didn't ask me if it hurt. They asked me if I could lift it. Well, I could do almost anything once, maybe even twice if I was really determined. So when they asked you if it hurts, when they asked you if you could lift it, you did it. When they asked you how you feel the next day, you say sore. Well, of course I say sore. Is it a scale of 1 to 10 sore? Is it an 8 or is it a 2 sore? Depends on. And the thing is, I don't know. Like I said, I should have got a lawyer. I should have fought it, but that would have just added, more stress to the situation. And then once things became even more complicated, silly me, of course, I didn't like being by myself, so I took back my ex again, and it added more stress to the situation even more. And with the house, things were already in play for the end of the house already in 2014, 2015, and like I've mentioned in other videos, I should have just pulled the plug then, but I stuck it out because I was hoping that what they said about retraining and new career and all this stuff they would hold true on, and they didn't, which then added more stress. And finally I felt like I became trapped in the house. There was very, very long stretches where I wouldn't even leave the house other than to walk the dog, and that was just down the back alley and back. If I did happen to go out, it was only for a half hour. I learned the whole online banking thing, and I did everything online, so there was no reason to leave the house. And by then my relationship had already pretty much became you know, the way it was, and there was no family dinners, no outings, no invites to go anywhere. So it's not like I was missing, or not like I was not going to anything. I just, you know, it was the way it was. Then of course when things became apparent, I was single again, the person that I counted on the most bailed. That's when I decided not to keep the house, and then that's when the stress levels became quite intense. Quite heavy, heaviest I've ever felt in my life. And I'll spare you the details, spare you stuff, but all I know is I have no idea how I made it to my 40th birthday, because, well, it certainly wasn't planned that I was going to do it. And you try your best to cope day and day with things, try your best to make do with what you have. However, when things get overwhelming and complicated and you reach out for help and the whole system fails because you don't fit what they're looking for, it's not like I wasn't willing to get help. It's not like I wasn't willing to go to their appointments. Yeah, I walk in there for a simple appointment, and next thing I know, they're wanting to inject me with something and have me committed. And it's like, no, I'm not a danger to myself. I'm definitely not a danger to others. I just want to find out what's going on. Am I, you know, is there something going on with things, maybe possibility of reflecting of family history that I maybe should deal with, or that should have been dealt with 10 years ago, that was allowed to build, and things like that. And eventually you decide you're better off on your own. You're better off to deal with things yourself. You're better off not to talk to strangers, because talking to these strangers that really don't care how you're feeling only goes so far. They get paid an hourly wage regardless of whether they help you or not, regardless of whether they cause more issues than they fix or not. And at the end of the day, when they punch out of their office job and go home, you're left dealing with all the problems, taking their poison medications and branded as a mentally defective person, and they just move on to the next person. And as for me here now, a couple of years after the house, I've gone through some really lows, and I've gone through some better times. And this spring was a pretty rough time, nowhere near as low or as bad as I have been in the past, but not as good as I would like it to have been. I am so afraid or worried that I'm going to have a repeat of 2019 again, crashing after my road trip or camping trips, and being sick like I was, that I think I'm almost afraid of doing it again, because I don't want to be sick again for the better part of a year like I was. However, not getting out, not doing it, not taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, however you want to call it, it just causes more troubles and issues. Everything is almost a fine oiled machine. Everything works together in one great big unison to make sure everything goes. And when your mind is not working properly, your body's not working properly, and your legs don't want to work properly, your arms don't want to work properly, you know, you don't eat properly, you don't sleep properly, and then that adds, and a bunch of other things, and then that adds to all the stuff that's going on already. Sometimes a person just has to pack their suitcase, hop in their truck, and disappear for a few days to get things back to normal, back to squared away. Not worrying about insignificant things that may or may not happen, or may not be as they are. You know, obsessively in detail planning out this road trip just gets a person worked up. You know, plan out the basics, plan out the main stops, plan out some of the towns in between. And when you find yourself in those towns, then Google museums or road side attractions near me or whatever, and then go from there. You know, don't worry about campsites until you need a campsite, and then go find one in the area. You know, if you're needing to do banking, look at the online option again, or you know, maybe get somebody to do the banking for you, or order groceries in, have them delivered rather than hurting yourself to go out to get them, and then you lose the better part of a week recovering from your hour and a half long grocery trip. These things that I have going on, ideas that I have, they may not be good for the long term. They may not be feasible for the long term. You know, they may not be the best option in terms of do it once, do it right. But they may help a guy cope with things, manage things better, slowly getting back to where he once was, digging himself out of the physical hole where he once was, and trying to get back to that point where everything made sense. I know I made a big choice with the house, letting things go, and I was kind of hoping relationship-wise things would have settled out there, or I would have been able to have found somebody else out there that is interested in the same things as me, just for an outing to get out of the house. But I guess if things aren't working out the way that I think they should, maybe that's telling me that at this time in my life, allowing somebody else to come into my life might just add to the stress that and stuff that is currently already there. And you know, there's nothing wrong with traveling by yourself. There's nothing wrong with living a solo life. There's nothing wrong with, well, you know, fending for yourself. It's just be sure nice to be able to share things with another person. But you know how she goes. It is what it is. Just kind of my thoughts on this here subject. Trying to make do with what I got. Trying to plan out things, but yet not go so far off the deep end that it messes things up once again. It is what it is, and around we go. And as always, thanks for watching Maxwell's vlog. Comment, subscribe, and enjoy.